Hello, and welcome to another Honkai Star Rail video. So this video is going to be mainly touching about if you want to summon for Seele, what can you really expect from her if it is even the right idea for you. Now, a main thing to keep in mind with these kind of games is they are a gacha game. Choosing whether to summon or not is going to come down to a couple main factors, mainly the character in question, the banner that they're on, and if you like them or not, because that's actually like the most important thing. Like, I'm not gonna tell somebody to summon for a character just because they're crazy. Of course, that should be like an incentive to summon for a character, but if you don't like the character's design, you don't like their voice, you don't like their personality, you don't like their playstyle, because in a game like this where it's turn-based, you're gonna be seeing what they're gonna be doing a lot. It's gonna be really important to actually like the character that you're pulling for. Now, in Seele's case here, she has a pretty okay banner. A few major things to point out is she has not only the only damage or defense debuffer in the entire game on it, the best 4-star DPS character in the entire game, as well as one of 2 healers in the entire game. So pretty valuable in terms of banner lineup. Plus you got herself, who is probably just the highest damage character in the entire game for the foreseeable future. Like, we have a couple characters later down the line that we know kind of what they do and what they're supposed to be doing, but at the moment she is a character that is not really going to get power crept anytime soon and is pretty damn strong. Again, if you haven't seen what she does, she's basically infinite turn cycles. Whenever she gets a kill, she resets her turn and you can move on from that. Let's take a look at mine real quick, that way we can get kind of like an idea of what's going to happen here. So my Seele is actually pretty well built. I'm 47 crit rate, 125 crit damage. That could be a little bit better. The ideal is like 1-to-2 ratio. So if you got like 50% crit rate, you should have a roughly about 100% crit damage. That's kind of how that's supposed to go. So I am a bit lagging on crit rate, but I'm not too worried about it because I have E1 unlocked for her, which gives me more crit rate when the enemy is low. So I'm not that worried about it. It'll eventually balance out to roughly about like a 60-120, so good enough. I also do have E2. Now, E2 for Seele is actually the only Eidolon that I even recommend going for. Like, if you're gonna, like, if you're willing to spend money, or if you're really lucky and you want to keep pulling on the banner, I don't recommend going past this one. None of the other Eidolons really do too much for her. Again, E3 just gives her talent level ups. E4 gives her a little bit more energy when she gets a kill. E2 or E5 gives, again, more talent level ups, and then E6 makes it so that she does more damage against a single target by giving them like basically a DOT debuff. So it's not anything crazy when you get past E2. E2 is only really crazy because it gives her the ability to stack her speed bonus twice. Now that's a big thing from her, because that is the entire thing that her light cone scales off of, is basically once she has a certain amount of speed, you get more damage. That's the entire thing. It gives you more crit rate, and then it gives you damage based on how much speed you have over 100. My Seele currently has, I believe it's just the base speed, 117. No, she has additional 2 speed. Her base speed is 115. And then every time you hit a marker of 10 over that, she gets a bit damage. And then where is it? I believe it's her skill that gives her 25% speed for 2 turns. Usually if you just have a basic E0 Seele, she's only going to be getting that once. Since I have E2, she's going to get that twice. So I'll maybe able to basically full stack her light cone just from her skill here, and I don't really have to worry about doing too much here. That's what makes her crazy, is the fact that not only is she the character with the highest base speed in the entire game, she has some of the highest single target damage ever. She is able to completely reset her turn multiple times. Her ultimate does insane amounts of damage, and overall she's just kind of gross in terms of what she's doing here. Now, again, that's something that is very helpful in a game like this, because you really only need 1 DPS character. Technically you need 2 to have 2 different teams once you get farther in like the Forgotten Hall and then the Chaos Memory, that kind of thing. So you will need very strong DPS characters. The thing about this game, though, is there's so many good options without summoning. Like, again, Hook is amazing. if you have, especially if you have an E6 hook like me, of course I've pulled so many hooks at this point that it doesn't really matter, but hook actually does an insane amount of single target damage as well as AoE damage with her empowered E, so she can actually be an incredibly useful DPS for a lot of things. A free character in Dan Heng, he's amazing. He has the second highest single target DPS in the entire game under optimal scenarios. The only thing about Dan is he's very conditional, so he needs to not only have a targeted buff applied to him, but also have the enemy be debuffed, and it's specifically a speed debuff. That way he can actually do more damage, because that's when he gets this additional damage multiplier. So Dan is actually ridiculously strong. It's just he's very, very situational, so you're gonna have to really work on that. Serval is a character that, again, the majority of us got for free through the mail with a pre-registration bonus. She can be really, really solid. The only problem with her is she's gonna get power crept soon by the next banner character, so there's definitely some sway there. You got QQ, she's pretty good. Granted, you need to get very, very lucky for her to work, but she's pretty strong. Herda is another free-to-play character that does DPS damage, so she's definitely an option there. You got Su Shang, who I really like. She is a big chicken. She does very good single target damage, especially when the enemy is broken. And then, like, that's pretty much it for like the main damage dealer characters. What I think is more important in this game is supports, mainly characters like Ting Yun, Asta, Bronya that I don't have, who I really, really want. Characters that can pretty much make any character in the game viable. Again, Dan, his main thing is he specifically needs to be targeted by a buff. The best supporter in the game that most players are going to have access to is Ting Yun, who gives a two different targeted buffs, while basically making it so that Dan is perfectly able to get his buffs up and make him crazy. So you don't really need to summon for her if you don't want to. There are plenty of options for DPS characters. She doesn't have too many good supporters on her banner. The only 4-star healer in the entire game, and then the only damage like pretty much defense reduction character in the entire game for the time being. There's definitely some incentive to that, but they're nothing crazy. If anything, the thing I recommend getting most while this is up is actually the light cone, because it's for the hunt, and there's a lot of hunt characters that can make use of this, and I feel like this light cone will never get power crept. It's giving so much that it's kind of ridiculous to not get. Again, I can understand not wanting to summon on it because the banner is kind of a scam, but at the same time, this is such a broken light cone that just having this on your account will make your account that much stronger, especially even if you're not getting Seele herself. You can run this on Dan, on Su Shang. They get other types of things. You can also run it on the 5-star Yanqing, who can make use of this pretty well. Again, a lot of us have gotten some sort of DPS character from that free to play, or like that basically like free starter banner. So there's definitely like options here. Now let's go ahead and take a look at basically the main competition for Seele here, which is actually Jing Yun, who's coming out literally in like 2 weeks. So he is absolutely disgusting, to the point where even though he is a AoE based character, he does so much damage that he is almost competing with single target damage dealers for single target damage. That is how disgusting he is. Keep in mind, these damage numbers are based on ideal situations for each of these characters. Of course, Seele, absolutely disgusting. She basically does this for free. Dan and Yanqing are both based on their perfect ideal scenarios, which are very, very rare. And then you got Jing Yuan, who's this high up on one target, and he's supposed to be an AoE damage dealer. Like, you can very clearly see here, if I do this, Claire is crazy, and then Jing Yuan is right there. So he is absolutely broken. His light cone is also in the game. We can talk about that. And that's disgusting as well. And I'm pretty sure from the beta, one of the characters that was on his banner was actually Ting Yun, who is one of the best supporters in the entire game by far. She does an insane amount of damage and like crit and all this other stuff to your team. So if you get her, you're kind of winning just in general. So taking a look at what Jing Yuan is actually like doing, again, he is a Lightning Gear Edition character, so it sucks to really be Serval because this guy is just better Serval, but he's doing insane amounts of damage with his basic attacks, with his skill, and with his ultimate. If you haven't seen his ultimate, it's super, super cool, but he has like a lot of stuff going for him. where he's just doing crazy amounts of damage. So not only is he really cool in his animations, but his damage is insane. It's absolutely disgusting. And if we take a look at his light cone, which will be dropping with him, which is this before dawn, this is disgusting. This is at S1, so super in position 1. Increases the wearer's crit damage by 36%, increases the wearer's skill and ultimate damage by 18%. After the wearer uses their skill or ultimate, they gain Somnus Corpus. Upon triggering a follow-up attack, Somnus Corpus will be consumed and the follow-up damage is increased by 48%. And then if you make it all the way somehow you get S5, you're getting a free 60% crit damage and 30% weapons or skill and ultimate damage, plus 80% follow-up damage. Most Year Edition characters can make use of that, mainly Himiko. I have her actual 5-star one. Like, where is it? Oh, yeah, it's right here. And this is good. Like, it's a good 5-star like light cone. Like, it gets her damage based on how many enemies, and then it also makes it so that when she breaks it, she deals more damage. But the problem with that is hers is like attack percent, which is basically to base stats, not to anything crazy. Because like actual damage percentage is always going to be better than attack percentage. And then you have literally right here, you're getting crit damage and skill and ultimate damage percent. So this thing is just disgusting. Like, so not only is his light cone gross, but he's disgustingly strong. So if you're able to get Jing Yuan next banner, you're basically set. There's a lot of enemies in the game that deal or need to be dealt lightning damage for them to be broken, and this guy does insane amounts of damage to them. So if you want to pull for Seele, that's cool. She's really cool, and I like her a lot. Me personally, I think she's incredibly fun to see go crazy, but also keep in mind that this character is the one that's coming next, who's going to have a better 4-star roster. There's nothing wrong with Natasha, Hook, and Pella, but Ting Yun is absolutely crazy, and so is Jing Yuan, who are going to probably be on the same banner. I'm pretty sure March 7th was also on that banner, and March is good. She has a cleanse, which is really nice. I do believe you need Eidolons for the cleanse, though. I'm not entirely sure. It hasn't been a while since I've actually looked at March. Is that a talent, or is that a... Oh, no, it's right here. So yeah, she also has a cleanse, which can be pretty helpful in a lot of things, mainly like World 5 of the Simulated Universe with against Kafka, because there's a lot of debuffs in that one. So there's definitely reasons to pull for Seele, and there's reasons to pull for Jing Yuan. I personally would just say, if you're going to pull, know what works better for your account. And if you don't really care about, like, oh, I need this kind of damage character, pull on whoever you think is cooler. I personally am always going to stand by that. Pull for the character that you want. If you want Seele, summon for Seele. I like it. It's not up to me. Pull for the character that you think is cool. Now, me personally, I think she's really sick. I got her E2. I have not lost a 50-50 on her banner. I kind of wanted to. I wanted to get Branya, but she's insanely cool and does ridiculous amounts of damage, and I personally love using her. But I can also see if you're like, oh, I just don't want a single target DPS. I have other options like Dan, who's free, Hook, who's on the banner, and I really want Jing Yuan because he does crazy amounts of lightning AoE damage, and it's really cool to see a giant mecha guy come down with a huge spear and destroy everything. I think that's perfectly valid. If you're saving for a character coming down the line, i.e. Blade, Kafka, that kind of thing, that's also valid. So summon for who you want to use. Keep in mind exactly what's on their banner, how strong they are, if you need that kind of damage or if you need that kind of damage typing, and go from there. One of the next characters that's coming up is a healer that's a main 5-star. You also got Kafka, who's an agility character. That this is all stuff that we know from the beta, so it's not really like spoilers or anything, but like, do keep in mind what's coming up next and what might be good for your personal account and who you think is cool. The second you think a character is cool, I would recommend pulling. That's pretty much all my thoughts on Seele. Let me know what you guys think about her, and if you're gonna pull in the comments down below. You do still have 11 days, so you have your time to think about it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.